What if being fully booked wasn't the end of a family's Christmas, but the beginning of a miracle? What if the people we often overlook, the hotel staff, the cleaners, the kitchen workers, held the power to create magic when everything seems hopeless? Tonight, I'm going to share an incredible true story that will challenge everything you think you know about hospitality, corporate policy, and who really has the power to create Christmas miracles. This isn't just another holiday story. This is a powerful account of how a hotel staff's secret mission transformed a family's disaster into their most memorable Christmas ever. You'll meet the Miller family, stranded, desperate, and facing Christmas Eve in an airport chair. You'll meet Maria and the hotel staff, people fighting their own battles who decided someone else's crisis was their calling. And you'll discover the moment when a storage room became a sanctuary, corporate rules bowed to human compassion, and a blizzard became the unlikely catalyst for a community that would outlast the storm. If you've ever felt powerless in a system, wondered if small actions really matter, or questioned whether modern businesses still have hearts, prepare to have your faith restored. This story will show you how the most powerful transformations often come from the most unexpected places, and how sometimes the people with the least to give materially have the most to offer where it truly counts. You know, sometimes life's most beautiful moments emerge from complete chaos. And for the staff at the Grand Mountain Lodge, a historic blizzard on December 23rd would become the catalyst for a Christmas miracle nobody saw coming. The hotel, usually a peaceful winter retreat, was an absolute pandemonium. Every room booked, every phone ringing, and a lobby filled with stranded travelers whose holiday plans had been shattered by nature's fury. Among them stood the Miller family, a young couple with twin 5-year-olds and a baby, desperately trying to hide their panic as they realized they might be spending Christmas Eve sleeping on airport chairs. The financial struggle of having already paid for their canceled flight was written all over their faces, a painful reminder that sometimes the holidays amplify our vulnerabilities rather than healing them. Now, let me ask you something. When was the last time you found yourself in a situation where everything was falling apart, and you had to choose between adding to the chaos or becoming part of the solution? We've all been there, stuck in traffic, dealing with canceled plans, facing unexpected crises. Here's what I've learned from watching people like the hotel staff. Our true character isn't revealed when things are easy, but when everything's going wrong. This week, try crisis mindfulness. When you find yourself in a stressful situation, take 3 deep breaths and ask, how can I be part of the solution here? You'll be amazed how this simple shift transforms not only the situation, but your own experience of it. Maria, the head housekeeper who'd worked at the lodge for 15 years, noticed the Miller family immediately. She saw the way the mother tried to comfort her crying children while discreetly wiping her own tears, the way the father's shoulders slumped with that particular weight of loneliness that comes from failing to provide for your family during what's supposed to be the most magical time of year. In that moment, Maria remembered her own childhood Christmases when her immigrant parents faced similar financial struggle, and something in her heart shifted. She made a decision that would cross professional boundaries but honor human connection. She approached her manager with an idea that seemed impossible. What happened next in the staff break room would become the stuff of hotel legend. Maria gathered the cleaning staff, the kitchen crew, the maintenance team, people who knew their own share of sacrifice and financial struggle, and proposed something radical. What if, she said, her voice filled with a hope that defied the chaos outside, we create Christmas for this family, not because it's our job, but because it's the right thing to do. The response she received would test every assumption about what happens when corporate policy meets human compassion, and set in motion a chain of events that would transform not just one family's Christmas, but an entire community's understanding of what truly matters. You know how they say that the most powerful revolutions often begin in the most unlikely places? Well, the staff break room of the Grand Mountain Lodge became ground zero for a quiet rebellion against holiday despair. What started as Maria's wild idea quickly became a secret mission embraced by every department. Javier from maintenance offered to transform the storage room into a temporary Christmas wonderland. Sophia from the kitchen started planning a holiday feast using ingredients that would otherwise go to waste. Even the front desk staff, overwhelmed with angry guests, found ways to contribute small acts of kindness: extra blankets, hot chocolate, reassuring smiles. The unexpected help they were organizing wasn't just about providing shelter. It was about restoring dignity to a family that had lost theirs to circumstances beyond their control. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you participated in a secret mission to make someone's day better? I'm not talking about grand gestures, but those small, coordinated acts of kindness that happen behind the scenes. This week, try stealth benevolence. Gather 2 or 3 friends or coworkers and plan a small, secret act of kindness for someone who's struggling. It could be as simple as leaving anonymous, encouraging notes, surprising them with their favorite coffee, or completing a task they've been dreading. You'll discover that the community you build through these shared missions often becomes as meaningful as the help you provide. Meanwhile, the Miller family sat in a quiet corner of the lobby, trying to make the best of their impossible situation. David Miller, a construction worker who took pride in providing for his family, felt the weight of his financial struggle more acutely than ever. His wife Sarah tried to entertain their twins with stories while nursing their baby, her own loneliness for the family Christmas they'd planned palpable in every forced smile. What they didn't know was that while they saw themselves as invisible victims of circumstance, the hotel staff saw them as people worthy of a Christmas miracle. The second chance being prepared for them wasn't about charity. It was about recognizing that everyone deserves to feel the magic of the season, regardless of their circumstances. As the blizzard raged outside, something beautiful was happening inside the hotel's underbelly. The storage room, usually filled with extra linens and cleaning supplies, was being transformed into a Christmas oasis. Javier had strung fairy lights from the ceiling pipes, creating a starry night effect. Housekeeping staff brought in extra mattresses and made beds on the floor that looked like something from a childhood fort. The kitchen staff, who knew their own sacrifice of spending Christmas away from their families, poured their hearts into creating a feast that would make anyone feel cherished. And through it all, the staff maintained their professional duties, keeping their secret mission hidden from management and guests alike, proving that sometimes the most powerful storytelling happens not in words, but in actions. You know, there are moments in life when kindness arrives so unexpectedly that it bypasses all our defenses and touches the rawest parts of our humanity. For the Miller family, that moment came when Maria approached them in the lobby, her uniform slightly rumpled from helping with the secret preparations, her eyes glowing with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. "We have a surprise for your family," she said softly, leading them toward the transformed storage room. When David and Sarah saw what the staff had created, a Christmas wonderland complete with a makeshift tree, wrapped gifts, and a feast table, the loneliness and despair they'd been carrying melted into tears of overwhelming gratitude. The anonymous gift of Christmas they received wasn't from some distant benefactor, but from people who understood their struggle because they lived variations of it every day. Now, here's a practical thought for you. When was the last time you offered someone an unexpected invitation that acknowledged their struggle without robbing them of their dignity? We often help people in ways that make them feel indebted or embarrassed. This month, try what I call dignity first helping. Find ways to assist others that preserve their pride and make them feel like partners rather than recipients. Maybe it's framing help as, "I could really use your company," rather than, "You look like you need company," or offering opportunities rather than handouts. You'll discover that unexpected help given with respect creates connections that last long after the immediate need has passed. What unfolded in that storage room turned sanctuary was nothing short of magical. The hotel staff, who should have been heading home to their own families, instead stayed to celebrate with people who'd been strangers hours before. The kitchen staff brought out the feast they'd prepared, roast chicken instead of turkey, but made with so much love it tasted better than any five-star meal. The maintenance crew had rigged up a speaker system playing Christmas music. The housekeeping staff had wrapped small gifts from the hotel's lost and found, books, scarves, toiletries, transforming lost and found items into cherished presents. The Miller children's laughter echoed through the room, their earlier tears replaced by the joy of a Christmas adventure they'd never forget. But the most beautiful part was what happened among the staff themselves. Carlos, the grumpy dishwasher who usually complained about everything, found himself playing Santa for the delighted children. Maria, who'd initiated it all, watched with tears in her eyes as she saw her colleagues, people who often just coexisted as co-workers, become a genuine community. The financial struggle that usually dominated their conversations was replaced by shared purpose and connection. And as the storm continued to rage outside, something remarkable was happening inside. Barriers between staff and guests were dissolving, replaced by the simple human understanding that we're all just people trying to find warmth and connection in a cold world. You know how they say that light shines brightest in the darkest places? Well, the warmth radiating from that storage room began to spread throughout the entire hotel, transforming the atmosphere in the crowded lobby. Other stranded guests, initially focused on their own disappointments, started noticing the unusual comings and goings of staff carrying food and decorations. Instead of generating resentment, the visible joy of the Miller family and the staff created a curious phenomenon. Guests began helping each other, sharing resources, offering words of encouragement. The community that started with one family and a handful of staff was now infecting everyone with a spirit of generosity that turned a crisis into what many would later call their most memorable Christmas ever. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you witnessed an act of kindness that inspired you to pay it forward in some way? We often underestimate how contagious generosity can be, how one good deed can create a chain reaction that transforms entire environments. This week, try being a generosity catalyst. Perform one small, visible act of kindness and observe how it influences others around you. You might be surprised at how quickly hope and goodwill can spread when someone has the courage to start the chain. Back in the storage room, the celebration had evolved into something even more profound. David Miller, overwhelmed by the staff's act of kindness, shared that this would have been their first Christmas visiting Sarah's ailing mother since her cancer diagnosis. The trip represented not just a holiday celebration, but potentially their last Christmas together as a complete family. The family secret of their deeper struggle touched the staff in ways they hadn't anticipated, transforming their gesture from seasonal charity into meaningful human connection. Maria realized they weren't just providing shelter from a storm. They were creating a sanctuary for a family facing one of life's toughest battles. What happened next would test the boundaries of corporate policy and human compassion. The hotel manager, initially unaware of the staff's secret mission, discovered what was happening during his rounds. The staff held their breath, expecting reprimands or even termination for using hotel resources without authorization. But instead, something remarkable occurred. The manager, seeing the transformed family and the united staff, made a decision that would redefine the hotel's culture forever. He didn't just approve their actions. He joined them, authorizing additional resources and even calling his own family to say he'd be late because something important is happening here. The reconciliation between corporate rules and human needs in that moment proved that sometimes the most powerful leadership means knowing when to follow the spirit rather than the letter of the law. You know, sometimes the obstacles we curse become the very things that save us. And for everyone stranded at the Grand Mountain Lodge that Christmas Eve, the blizzard became an unexpected blessing in disguise. As word spread about the staff's secret Christmas mission, something shifted in the hotel's energy. The frustration of stranded travelers transformed into a collective determination to make the best of their situation. Guests started organizing their own impromptu celebrations in the lobby, sharing stories, food, and laughter. The loneliness that comes from being away from home during the holidays was replaced by the warmth of unexpected connection. The hotel staff, initially worried about overstepping, now found themselves at the heart of a community celebration that nobody had planned but everyone needed. Now, here's something you can apply to your own life. What current obstacle or disappointment in your life might contain hidden blessings? We're often so focused on what we've lost or what's not working that we miss the unexpected gifts hiding in plain sight. This month, try obstacle reframing. Take one current challenge and list 3 potential benefits or opportunities it might contain. You'll discover that hope often lives in our ability to see possibilities where others see only problems. The most beautiful transformation was happening among the staff themselves. Carlos, the dishwasher, who'd started the evening as the hotel's resident pessimist, was now leading Christmas carols with surprising enthusiasm. Maria watched as her colleagues, people who usually just worked together, now laughed and celebrated like family. The financial struggle that usually dominated their break room conversations was forgotten, replaced by the rich satisfaction of having made a real difference in someone's life. The Miller family, once embarrassed by their situation, now found themselves at the center of a celebration that felt more genuine and meaningful than any perfectly planned holiday they'd ever experienced. As midnight approached and Christmas Day officially began, something remarkable happened. The storm finally began to ease, but nobody wanted to leave. The hotel manager, seeing the unique community that had formed, made an announcement that would cement this as the lodge's most legendary Christmas. He declared that all stranded guests could stay an additional night at the hotel's expense, and ordered a proper Christmas breakfast for everyone. The second chance he offered wasn't just about free rooms. It was about honoring the magical human connections that had formed in the midst of crisis. And as families who'd been strangers hours before hugged each other goodnight, they understood that the greatest Christmas gifts aren't found under trees, but in the spaces between people where compassion and community take root. You know, the true measure of any meaningful experience isn't what happens in the moment, but how it changes us afterward. In the days following that extraordinary Christmas, the Grand Mountain Lodge felt like a different establishment. The staff, who had previously operated as separate departments just doing their jobs, now worked with a new sense of unity and purpose. The Miller family checked out with hugs and promises to keep in touch, their financial struggle momentarily eased by the manager's decision to comp their entire stay. But the real legacy wasn't in the free rooms or the comped meals. It was in the cultural shift that transformed a corporate hotel into a genuine community hub, proving that businesses can have hearts and bottom lines can include human connection. Let me ask you something. What experience from your past continues to shape how you show up in the world today? We often underestimate how single events can redefine our values and priorities for years to come. This month, try legacy reflection. Identify one past experience that changed you and consciously apply its lessons to your current relationships or work. You'll discover that the most powerful storytelling isn't about entertaining others, but about creating stories worth living from. In the weeks that followed, the Christmas storage room miracle became part of the hotel's lore. New staff members heard the story during training. The local newspaper ran a feature that attracted more business than any marketing campaign could have. But the most significant change was in how the staff approached their work. They now saw themselves not just as employees, but as creators of experiences, as facilitators of connection. Maria was promoted to guest relations manager, her act of kindness having demonstrated leadership qualities no resume could capture. The dignity she'd shown the Miller family had rippled through the entire organization, elevating everyone's understanding of what hospitality truly means. A year later, on the anniversary of the blizzard, the Millers returned to the lodge, not as stranded travelers, but as honored guests. Sarah's mother had miraculously gone into remission, and they wanted to celebrate at the place that had given them hope during their darkest time. The staff prepared a special welcome, but the real celebration was in the reunions, the hugs, the shared memories, the profound understanding that they'd all been part of something larger than themselves. As they gathered in the same storage room, now officially named the Christmas Room, they understood that the storm hadn't trapped them. It had freed them to discover the secret that the best communities aren't found, but built, one act of kindness at a time, by ordinary people willing to become someone's unexpected help. So let me ask you this. Who are the invisible heroes in your world that you've been overlooking? What small, secret mission of kindness could you and others undertake that might transform someone's darkest moment into their brightest memory? Here's the powerful truth this story reveals. Your position or resources don't determine your capacity to create change. Your willingness to see need and respond with compassion does. The financial struggle that makes you feel limited might actually be the very thing that makes your help authentic and meaningful. Now I want you to consider, what storage room in your life could become someone's sanctuary? What corporate or systemic rules could you thoughtfully bend to honor human dignity? What storm in someone's life might actually be your invitation to become their unexpected Christmas miracle? If this story inspired you to look at service workers with new respect, if you believe that businesses can have souls and that communities can form in the most unlikely places, then do me one favor. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Why? Because every week we share true stories like this one that prove ordinary people can create extraordinary change right where they are. Your journey toward becoming someone's unexpected blessing starts with one click, and I'll be right here to guide you every step of the way.